A Hearthstone adventure!
The first one is a mage card called Dragon's Breath, a 5-mana spell that deals 4 damage. Mediocre, you say, right? Well, it costs 1 less for each minion that died this turn. That is the upside. So Blizzard is trying to make a kind of another thematic feel to the game, add another one of those mechanics. It's adding a mechanic that you're gonna have to play around with to enable it, and I think that is really interesting. The fact that they're adding those requirements to play around. There are 2 things I love in design, and that's pretty obvious. When you design a card game, you want to have those. That is exactly what you're going for. You want to have things that require you to play around them to make them work, and some things that you just throw down but have a drawback. Those are my 2 favorite mechanics. Think Deathlord types of cards or stuff like Dragon's Breath. And I actually personally love the design that this has. But I have to question the values on them. I mean, the 5 mana for 4 damage, that's pretty low. The question arises, would I ever play Dragon's Breath? Now, in a vacuum, I would say yes. Because I feel like there's a lot of times where you're going to be able to get yourself a Dragon's Breath that's going to be very cheap, because it doesn't just count your own minions, right? If you trade your board away for the opponent's board in a mech mage, for instance, right? You trade your mechs for the opponent's mechs for whatever reason you decide that you want to be trading. You end up trading away stuff, then Dragon's Breath becomes pretty cool because you get to slap a free spell on top of everything. But just look at the roster of spells that the mage already has, and I'm just going to take the direct damage spells here with fireballs. We have 2 Frost Bolts, 2 Ice Lances, 2 Fireballs. We're not even accounting for the Pyroblast that a lot of Freeze Mages play in general. You generally don't play 2, just the 1. And you have Archmage Antonidas to generate more Fireballs. So you've got a really good roster of face damage cards, right? And Dragon's Breath can target anything. The face or enemy minions. The thing is, when you look at Dragon's Breath, it doesn't seem like it's designed to be a card that you play to go to the face. Because generally speaking, when minions die, it's because you're trading or AoEing down the board, and you're probably in a position where you want to be using Dragon's Breath to trade even further with more minions. So if you Flame Strike and get a free Dragon's Breath to kill, let's say, a giant, you hit everything for 4, the giant has 4 health left, 5 minions died, Dragon's Breath costs you 0 mana, you slap it on top of the Flame Strike and kill a giant. I mean, there's an argument to be made for that, but it's a pretty costly board wipe at that point. In a competitive environment, I don't think it's going to be a superbly useful card. Then again, we have been proven wrong by a lot of things, but here's the I guess it's got a huge upside on Flame Cannon, and that's the fact that it's not random. 3 mana for 4 damage. I'm still happy to get that off, and it's essentially a better Shadow Bolt. To put it into perspective, at 3 mana it becomes an objectively better Shadow Bolt, and I do like it. So, does it belong to Mage? I think it does.
I don't know why they made this card. This card is I mean, the graphic is insane, but yeah, I think the better cards are the later list. But I don't know. You need to like kill 3 guys to have a 2 mana deal 4 damage. So it's a flame cannon that you can target, and you can target the face as well. But the condition is to kill 3 guys. That's pretty hard. Now the other card that they released with this effect is really good, but this is really bad. Because, like, why would you not play Fireball? You pay 1 less mana for 2 more damage, right? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. This card is really bad.
It's a hard card to evaluate because, basically, Mage has so many spell synergies. Manworm, Sorcerer's Apprentice, I mean... So maybe this is playable just because it's like another decent spell that you can throw out. I don't think there's going to be room in most Mage decks, though. I think it's just a little too inefficient to really be worthwhile. Most of the time, it looks like it's going to be a Shadow Bolt that can go to the face, which is definitely good, but it's not like an auto-include in Mage, I would say. So, playable, but only in some very niche decks. I don't think we're going to see much Dragon's Breath unless something crazy happens.
So, this card is kind of bad, but there are some situations where it's quite good. It makes it so if you can't really do much in one turn, you do even less with this card. But if you can do a lot of things, this card tempos out like crazy. So it makes it so people who are playing tempo mage or decks that you perpetually spiral out of control, just, you know, basically win more type of decks. This card will be pretty good in. If you really want to compare it, you know, there's Frostbolt for 3 damage, 2 mana. There's Flame Cannon, 4 damage for 2 mana. So for 2 mana, you kind of want like 3.5 damage. So if you get this card for 2 mana, it's great. If you get it for 3 mana, well, it's not so great. So that's kind of the tipping point. This card is very often going to cost 3 mana, which it kind of sucks, but with the option to tempo out your opponent. Sometimes when you do like a double trading creature, you play this card for 1, or if you're really lucky for 0, you can do a lot of magic. So I think it'll be fair. I think as a card it's really good, but Mage is already a really good class, and they're already getting good cards from the expansion. Not only that, a lot of the dragon-themed kind of crap that they're trying to push doesn't really work with Mage too well. So I don't really know how much of Mage is going to change, and if it's not going to change, I don't know if this card will be included. But if Tempo Mage is a thing, this will be a thing in Tempo Mage.
So yeah, the problem here is, does Mage really need more Fireball effects or Frostbolt effects? I mean, a lot of Mages do cut Fireball already, and it's hard to really fit in a worse version of those cards. It's too hard to proc. So I really see this card only being played in Mage decks that really want a lot of burn. For example, something like Freeze Mage, or even maybe new decks Mages that come up, something like a more combo type Mage. I mean, there have been kind of like one-turn kill combo Mages running Sorcerer Apprentice with the Ice Lance combos and spell power, such as Blood Mage. I can see some crazy combos popping up from, say, double Sorcerer Apprentice, Blood Mage, maybe even Ancient Mage, the one that gives 2 spell power if you have minions, and just like trying to combo a whole lot of Frostbolts and Ice Lances and Dragon's Breaths in the same turn. You still are going to have to kill minions, though. It might be that you can do something like a Flame Strike or Doomsayer from last turn, but then it's going to be hard to get all the Sorcerer Apprentice off. But yeah, I mean, I can see this basically being played in very heavy like one-turn kill mages. This is not going to be played in a mage deck that's like a tempo mage trying to ride. You're never going to really want to proc this effect with minions and then Dragon's Breath, right? Because like, say you're a tempo mage like Mana Worm or whatever, and you're trying to snowball on creature damage. You don't trade the minions and then fireball them in the face. You fireball the minion and then hit them in the face with your existing minions. So it doesn't really work like that. You know, you can't play Dragon's Breath in minion-based aggro decks.
So, first of all, I will say I like the design. Dragon's Breath is an example of a card that isn't straight up powerful. In fact, it is so hard to get to work that I would argue it's just bad. Compare it to some of the cards Mage has. 4 mana, you get Fireball. 2 mana, you get Frostbolt. So you're trying to get this in order to be good. So Dragon's Breath needs to kill 3 guys in order to be playable. Now it has to be on your turn, so you have to be the one engaging in the trades or clearing the stuff. Some people are suggesting that you do the Flame Strike and then you toss the Dragon's Breath out to deal with that final guy which somehow survived your Flame Strike. That's not very realistic. The way that you need to make this work is so hard that I cannot fathom this being played. Gang Up. I think this is the most overrated card, which many people are getting hyped on, but I see this card as being really cool, and then it'll never see any play like a week into the expansion. Hard to evaluate card. I'm going to say this belongs only in the most extreme of combo wombo decks. Worth mentioning that you can choose the opponent's minion and then shuffle 3 copies into your deck. So the reason why this is... I'll list the reasons why this is bad first. It's 2 mana and then it does nothing. So first of all, Gang Up is really bad against aggro, like face decks, because you're not going to have enough time for Gang Up to even matter. In control decks, you might want to gang up a big legendary card and then you end up playing 3 Ragnaroses or 3 Nefarians, and then that's really fun. Of course, that takes a lot of time to do. The most obvious deck to generally include gang up on, which people have been talking about, is you put it into the Fatigue Rogue deck. It only really matters if you go into Fatigue. and then you have like 3 extra big guys. So, seems unlikely. In Arena, this card is going to be really bad, because much the same reasons why Fel Reaver is really good. There is generally not enough time to go through your deck and find all these cards, yada yada. Bottom tier card in Arena.
Not going to be played in Miracle, I don't think, but it's going to be played in, I'm not really sure, in Temple Rogue. Temple Rogue might play this because they have a lot of card draw. It says choose a minion, yeah? So I'm assuming you can choose your opponent's minions as well. So, but then obviously you need card draw. So this deck needs to be played, built around this card if you want to play this card. You can't just go like, oh, I'm just going to put this in randomly, yeah? We finally have this interaction where it's kind of like a wild growth, right? It's kind of like a wild growth if you look at it.
I guess you can gun up your Battle Shredder. So this way you have 3 more Battle Shredders in the deck. And it should be enough to have something on the board against Warrior. But the thing is, it's just too slow. This is 2 mana which does nothing. It just extends your deck. It's just basically extension of your deck, so it's only good if you play until Fatigue. And how often do you play until Fatigue? I think this is garbage.
Even though it got this card Gang Up, which is complete and utter shit, completely unplayable. I think this card's terrible. We'll never see play for any reason. Let's move on to the other guy.
Rogue is a class that fatigues out a lot just because of how it works. You're either double sprint or you Gadgetzan. You're drawing so many cards, and a lot of times Rogue you actually have trouble killing your opponent before you run out of cards at the end. It's like a really common scenario, especially playing something like Rogue versus Warrior. I do think that at first, because I have kind of like a Magic background, this kind of effect would be awful. I initially undervalued this kind of effect a ton in Hearthstone. I actually think that this card is actually pretty interesting, even though it's basically you're paying 2 mana for nothing. You're paying 2 mana for a spell that does nothing immediately. It's it doesn't draw you cards. It basically does nothing. It doesn't kill anything. It's just 2 mana go bye-bye, but it makes your deck better. I'm having a hard time doing this one, so I'm not sure.
Basically, this card offers 0 immediate value, negative tempo because you use 2 mana for something that doesn't have any effect immediately. So it's kind of weird because Rogue is basically good at those first 2 things, developing a lot of board all at once and just getting really good value, really good efficiency from their card. This card does the absolute opposite. I imagine if you're running a Rogue card with a lot of draw, it'd be pretty decent. I imagine if you're running some kind of Turtle Rogue, I'd imagine it'd be extremely powerful. It's a cool card. I love these cool cards, but if you're a hardcore Rogue player, you're probably not too excited about this one.
Probably the one that I want to try out the most, just because it looks the most fun, is Gang Up. Gang Up is a Rogue card, and the reason I think is really cool in Rogue is because you can get copies of the obvious, Cancer Rogue, the ultimate Cancer Rogue card, Cold Oracle, which was always great, because it's not even in Mill Rogue, by the way. I want to point out, this is not a Mill Rogue tool, okay? If you're playing Cancer Rogue, and I'm talking Cancer Rogue like Arcane Golems and Wolf Rider, Cold Blood, South Sea Deckhand, Cold Blood, Backspace Rogue, essentially, Gang Up fits in Backspace Rogue. In Mill Rogue, I'm not too sure because it feels a little slow. I mean, you're paying 2 mana to get 3 minions into your deck, right? You're not even drawing them right away. And I really do like the card. I feel like it has flavor that I can appreciate to a large extent.
Emperor Thaurissan. This card might be the most insane card in the set. Your must-have, if you will. I don't think I saw a single must-have card before, but this card, wow. I'm going to admit that at first I thought it said Battle Cry at the end of your turn, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1, because even that would make this card really good, but it's even better than that. I'm saying this, of course, as someone who likes playing Control. In your aggro deck, you're not going to want to play this. In your face deck, absolutely not. I think this card is kind of going to take the place where Loatheb is in many decks, because Loatheb was kind of like, is this good enough to include? Sometimes it's good enough. But Emperor Thaurissan, man, you put this in those Control decks. You put this in those maybe mid-range decks. that one remains to be seen, but the control decks definitely. There's some sickness that you can do if you're turn 2 Druid. You do your turn 2 Wild Growth, you do your turn 3 Innervate Emperor Thaurissan, and then if they don't deal with it immediately, you get not only a discount of 1 immediately, but then you get another discount. And then you get discounts everywhere. In Arena it's going to be less good, but still probably good, since it's kind of a mid-range control thing.
Now, 6 mana 5/5, pretty bad body, I'll grant you that. You can put opponents on a clock much faster, so Druids might be getting a lot of mileage out of that one, but not just Druids, everyone, in fact, because not just spells get lowered, even minions. So anything you play, essentially, it's kind of like a mass pint-sized summoner, if you will, or a mass Farsight, mass Innervate, look at it the way you want, but this basically makes every card you play cost 1 less. It might give, you know, control decks a good reason to play Faceless, because if I can get Emperor Thaurissan to stick around 1 turn, and Faceless him, I'm getting a massive rebate on everything in my hand.
Emperor Thaurissan, this guy is going to be kind of the Lotheb or the Dr. Boom of the set. I expect to see this guy in a ton of decks. I think he's insane. Basically, you're paying 1 more mana than you should be for a 5/5. Like, a 5/5 for 5 mana is pretty good, so you're only paying 1 more. So you start, like, down a mana. But then the amount of mana he nets you is equal to how many cards you have in your hand. And most of the time it's going to be, like, 4 or 5. So you're netting, like, 3 mana to use whenever you want. Which, in and of itself, is good enough, but then on top of that, it lets you do crazy shit that you weren't even thinking of. Like, you just play Emperor Thaurissan and like turn 7 you're threatening Force of Nature Savage Roar for lethal. Or like decks with cards like Ancient Allure really go off with this. Because when you're playing stupid high impact expensive cards, being able to like play 2 things in a turn is just like it just win you the game a lot of the time. Everything that's not aggro I expect to just put this in because I'm pretty sure it's just stupid.
It's just a face bomb. This card is insane and stupid at the same time. It's not RNG related, so I can blame Blizzard for implementing it, but are you kidding me? This is such a good control card. If you have like end cards in the hand, you gain 8 mana by playing this Emperor. It's just solid overall. If you make all your hand 1 mana cost less, even if you don't have any combos, it's just solid. You just have more options. You can squeeze in hero powers more often.
Oh my god, this card is... Oh my god, this card is too good. This card is... It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. If it survives a turn... Oh my god. At the end of your turn. It's not even a battle cry. Like, people I think will go crazy if this was a battle cry already. It's not a battle cry, guys. It's at the end of your turn. What the heck? I'm playing this card. There's no way I'm not playing this card. Although, to be fair, I think this game needed a better 6-drop as well. There's not a lot of 6-drop options right now. There's Sylvanas, there's Black Knight, and there's Sky Golem, right? The 3 neutrals. No other 6-drops are being played. Not even Sunwalker, not even Cairn. So at least we get another 6-drop option, but this is insane.
This just might be, I guess, like the most obviously powerful card of this set. You can almost think of this as at the end of your turn, draw an Innervate, or maybe even a couple of Innervates. I think that's like, this card can just change the whole dynamic of the game when you play it, because if this card sticks around for multiple turns, I can see it just completely crushing the game. And it's actually not too weak. Even though 5/5 is not exactly like the biggest minion, we can kind of see that from Ancient Allure, that 5/5 is like kind of like one of the perfect ratios of Hearthstone. I think this is a very strong card, and it's might even be the best card of Blackrock Mountain.
Emperor Thaurissan, or I thought it was Thaurissan. I don't know. Fuck it. 6 for a 5/5 at the end of your turn, reduce the costs of cards in your hand by 1. So it's pretty nuts. If you have any cards in your hand, you basically get that mana cost back. So this card is basically ridiculous, and there aren't really that many great 6-drops. Yes, there's Sylvanas, and then, well, yeah, that's about it. Any mid-range deck I'd expect would run this card. Any combo deck will really love this card, because any decks that have a high amount of synergy will have this ability trigger at least once and make them have even more ridiculous combos. So I can't really suggest any deck that would benefit from it the most, but I think a lot of people will try to make this card work, and I think quite a few of them will succeed.
Anyway, on to Grim Patron. This is a card that's also really tough to evaluate. There's lots of those in this set. It's a pretty cheap win condition. Obviously Warriors, where a lot of people are going to consider playing it. It's good with the whirlwind effects. It's good with bouncing blades. You can really do some crazy stuff. I mean, if you just play it, taskmaster it, hit something. I mean, I could see this easily getting out of hand very quickly. The thing that interests me about Grim Patron is it's a 5-mana card that has the potential to win you the game on its own if you build your deck around it. And that's a big deal because a lot of times you just don't have the time to play a 9-mana 4/12. You can't be putting stuff like Ysera in your deck before this set at least and expect to win the game with that. Whereas Grim Patron's a lot faster. You can just get it down on the board soon. And it kind of has taunt. If you play it against Mech Mage, it's really dangerous for them to let it live. I think Grim Patron will see play in things outside of Warrior 2. It's a very interesting card, but I think Warrior is the class that it's mostly going to see playing.
This card belongs in a gimmick deck. It's kind of like a win condition because it's very expensive. I still don't see this being played a lot, except in very, very tight decks. Like the Warrior deck, for example. Another combo of this would be Unstable Ghoul, but I think it's really hard to pull off. I don't really like it.
This is interesting. I feel like it's a little bit too techy. It's kind of hard to really pull off. Yeah, I mean, if they have a 2-attack minion, which are probably not very common, yeah, I guess it can get a little bit out of control. I believe this card synergizes perfectly with the Bombers, and I'm not joking, okay? So the Bomber effects, I think, trigger during the effect of the Bomber. Now, it doesn't have to do with damage. So if you kill something like a Harvest Golem with a Bomber, it won't spawn the thing because those things have to resolve at the end. But in between effects seem to occur because if you use a Gurubashi or something like that, that just gets bigger and bigger every time it's damaged, it will actually get bigger each time the bomb goes off. So I believe if you play Grim Patron and then Matter Bomber, there's actually a chance that you'll copy your Grim Patron 5 more times on the board if you get lucky enough Matter Bombs. Isn't that sick? Otherwise, I think the card kind of sucks.
Okay, so looks like it's a bad minion. It's extremely bad for Arena. I can only see it being used in decks like these Elven Archers. It's probably okay in Warrior deck. If you think about it, you can okay, you can summon Grim Patron, you can Cruel Task it, and then you can Whirlwind. So you have 3/1, 3/2, and 2 3/3s. That's okay, but it's 8 mana, and you should pay 3 cards to do it. So for 8 mana and 3 cards, you're getting 3/1, 3/2, 2 3/3s, and 2/1. I don't know. I don't think it's worth it.
I mostly see this being played in, obviously, Warrior. I don't think this card is really playable if you play it as a 5-mana 3/3. I think you immediately need to start proccing multiple Grim Patrons. For example, Deathspite Whirlwind immediately could make this pretty powerful because then you'd have a 3/3 and a 3/2, and they both have the effect of summoning another Grim Patron. That already makes the card pretty strong, but a lot of the problems with Warrior is you're already falling behind going into your 5-drops, so it's hard to have a weak 5-drop unless it works out really good for you. This card is you're really incentivized to combo from this, do something like a Pyromancer combo or multiple Whirlwinds on the same turn, and it kind of means that you're all-inning on this card, and just all-inning to summon a whole board full of Grim Patrons is not that powerful.
The next card, probably the most fun card that's been announced, Grim Patron. 5-mana 3/3. It's in line with the lowest 5 drops in the game. Antique Heal Bot, which is a 5-mana 3/3, and Bomb Lobber that I talked about a little earlier. Whoa, that's not the one. Bomb Lobber, which is a 5-mana 3/3 as well. Those are the lowest statted 5 drops in the game, but they all have pretty impactful effects. At least the Heal Bot and the Bomb Lobber. You do tend to see Heal Bot a lot in Constructed. You see some people playing Bomb Lobber because it's actually really strong. And Grim Patron does not, I don't think, fall in that category of immediately impactful cards. Unlike Bomb Lobber and Anti-Killbot, he doesn't have an immediate effect, but he's got a really fun and cool one. So, from an aesthetic standpoint, this card is pretty cool, but I think, to me, the card that makes it just awesome, and it's actually one of the least played cards in the Warrior Arsenal, Bouncing Blade. You play Grim Patron, you play Bouncing Blade, it hits a Grim Patron, the Grim Patron spawns a 3/3. It hits for 1, so your Grim Patron does live through. And then another Grim Patron spawns, and then you get another hit on one of your Grim Patrons, which is going to spawn another Grim Patron. Before the entire effect of the Bouncing Blade is over, you're going to get a bunch of them, and it's possible that you fill your board up with a bunch of 3/2s. I think this is more of a fun card than an effective one.
That's a pretty exciting card when you first look at it. The combo that people gravitate to immediately is you use the Warrior, and then you play the Grim Patron with the Warsong Commander. That takes 8 mana. Say you have a Death Spite out with 1 charge remaining. That's pretty common, you can do that. So the goal then would be to get many Grim Patrons. The most cost-efficient way is using the Inner Rage, but the question is, do you actually want to play a card like Inner Rage just to activate this combo wombo? And maybe not. Maybe that takes too much effort. It is a really cool card, and I love design like this, which you basically need to build a deck around. I question its viability, but it's certainly going to be tried out. In Arena, this card's going to be rather bad. Even if you play it in Mage, which some people have suggested doing it in Constructed as well, you're paying 7 mana for basically a 3/2 and a 3/3. And that's not a good deal. Oh, one of the things that was clarified was that Bouncing Blades in particular does trigger the Patron midway, so if you play the Bouncing Blades on the Grim Patron and it takes 1 damage, and then you get another Grim Patron, that thing can be a target of Bouncing Blades and will summon more Grim Patrons. The big problem is that's super vulnerable to area of effect, and it also requires you to run 2 cards, both of which have very little utility.
Hunter, quick shot. Deal 3 damage if your hand is empty, draw a card. Play 2 and face Hunter. Play 2 and any kind of Hunter. This is a really good spell. It's like, it's just Dark Bomb, right? It's just addition. Really nice addition.
Quick Shot, next card. Now, there are a lot of cards that people want to say is like the best card when a set's released. In GVG, a lot of people would say that Dr. Boom was the best, in their opinion. And by that metric, it's really hard to say a class card is the best, because you're going to play against neutral cards way more than you're going to play against class cards. I think that Quick Shot is actually the best card, because I don't think there's any neutral in this set that is going to be played in 100% of decks, whereas I think Quick Shot will be played in 100% of Hunter decks, because this card is stupid. And honestly, as much as people hate Hunter, the class kind of deserved it. It didn't really get much in GVG, if anything. It got like Glaive Zuka or something. But as you add more and more of these auto-includes into Face Hunter, the deck just becomes more and more efficient. So after a while, they're going to need some good anti-aggro tools for other decks to be able to compete with it. But Quick Shot's amazing. You're going to see 2 of it in every Hunter deck. I mean, mid-range, Face Hunter, it doesn't matter. The card's just stupid.
Uh-oh! A card for Face Hunter! I think this is a very good Face Hunter card as well. Why this is a good card is because when you draw it and you still have 3 cards, it's still relevant because you can just empty your hand and play Quick Shot and draw another card. There you go. Face Hunters, you're pretty happy with this card. I would be pretty happy if I play Face Hunter.
I honestly feel like Quick Shot really is promoting a different type of Hunter. A Hunter that's more based on minions and swarming your opponents and running less situational cards. I can see Quick Shot immediately being useful in a deck like Mech Hunter, for example, using things like Mech Warper. The Hunters have a 3-mana mech that buffs their other mechs. Those kind of decks have a lot less situational cards. You can replace Kill Command with Quick Shot in Mech Hunter, and you can just drop all your mechs and then Quick Shot people down at the end. Otherwise, it's still a 2-mana deal 3. I do feel like this is a very powerful card, and I could see this being used in a lot of different type of Hunters, but I see it being best in a hunter that's really cutting things like Unleash the Hounds and Owls and things like that. And
so hunters got their spell, it's Quick Shot. It's basically Dark Bomb, except better. Because we all know hunters needed more direct damage and more card draw to draw more direct damage, to come up with more bullshit kills. I mean, okay, when you're playing against a hunter, you're like on turn 6 with like 6 life left, and you're praying that he doesn't draw any damage because he's got no board, no creatures, and like nothing. And then at the back of your mind, now you're going to know that there's an option for him to get Quick Shot into like Kill Command hero power, and then you'd completely lose your shit, right? So apparently, yeah, Dark Bomb is not good enough, guys. Dark Bomb's not good enough. You gotta have Quick Shot these days, because 3 damage, which again, it's exactly like Dark Bomb. It's basically the same card, but better for a class that's already frustrating enough and annoying enough to deal with. I'm not happy with this card. Right now, the meta is too quick, and this card just speeds it up, so the people who want to play Control will have an even harder time doing so. So, yeah. I hate hunters.
Quick Shot. Just like the other hunter card, this card gives you a benefit when your hand is empty. Hooray. Hooray being a hunter and then playing all your cards. Quick Shot is incredible. 2 mana, deal 3 damage, and if you're top decking, you're going to draw into something else, which probably deals damage. Awesome. Now, the only tough part is thinking whether or not you're going to run 1 of this card in your hunter deck, or if you're going to run 2 of this card in your hunter deck. In Arena, this card is going to be amazing because 2 mana, deal 3 damage is really good when you're trying to board control. And if you can actually empty your hand and then play this Quick Shot, super value. 2 mana, deal 3 damage, draw a card. That's insane. That's really good. It's not even a nightmare to have 2 Quick Shots in your hand. You just play a Quick Shot and then you deal 3 damage, and then you play another Quick Shot and you deal 3 damage, and then you draw a card.
Quick Shot. 2 mana, deal 3 damage. If your hand is empty, draw a card. Now, initially when I saw this card on stream, I thought to myself, oh man, this is a face hunter's wet dream. They can dump their hand to the as fast as they possibly can. My reaction afterwards feels like, where's the room in my face hunter deck for this card? Do I cut Wolf Riders? Do I cut Hunter's Marks? What do I cut for Quick Shot exactly? And I can't really figure it out. I'll be playing around with the card when it does come out, maybe, or at least I'll let people play with it and look at how this evolves. But I feel like Quick Shot might not be a face hunter's primary tool, but mid-range hunter could use this somewhat effectively, I suspect. It's a, it's a double-edged, it's a versatile, card, because you can hit the face for instant lethal very, very fast, or you can use it for early game removal or mid game to complement some of the stuff that you've got on board. So Quick Shot, a good face hunter tool, but maybe not a face hunter tool so much as it is a mid-range hunter tool. And I feel like Control Hunter also needed something like this, because it gives them the ability to remove stuff in the early game without relying on stupid shit like multi-shot and explosive shot, which come much too. The more card draw they get, the slower they might become, or they might just press the advantage of their hero power, like they did when the Buzzard was around. So Quick Shot, really nice card.
Resurrect. Summon a random friendly minion that died this game. So you can make this card pretty effective every time you play it if you build your priest deck in a way that you're not playing any crappy dudes in it. Well, I think Resurrect see play. I think you'll see some amount of play. It's a card I definitely have to experiment with. I don't think it's just going to make its own like priest archetype, but it might be a really powerful value card to have 1 or 2 of in most priest decks. Priest, as bad of a class as it is actually one of the hardest classes to fit cards into, because there are just so many good class cards. So it's very likely this card just will be on the sidelines and we won't see much of it, but I could see it seeing a good amount of play as well.
This is good. I think this is a strong card. But again, it's bad against Hunter. I don't know how, but Blizzard just should do something against Hunter. If you resurrect Blade Master, it's 4/7, it's good. If you resurrect your Cabal, it's 4/5, it's fine. If you resurrect like a Cultist, it's Cultist for 2 mana. If you resurrect 3/2, oh well. I guess you can live with it. So it's a good card.
Oh my god, this card is insane. Why this is insane? Because you can tailor your deck so that it always resurrects a good minion, right? So the first example that's really obvious is that if you play Blade Master at turn 3 and it dies to like a Dark Bomb or whatnot, you play Resurrect and you get a 4/7. A 2-mana 4/7, right? That's pretty insane. But one of the problems with this card as well is this is a 2-drop. And it is the only 2-drop that priests have right now that's relatively good. Like, priest is a class that sucks at 2-drops, and right now you can't even play this at turn 2, right?
Yeah, this is like how situational cards need to be priced. For the most part though, a lot of priest cards aren't actually, a lot of priest minions aren't actually that strong. Like, even something like Cabal's Shadow Priest, if you resurrect it, you don't get the battle cry. And priest is a class that generally doesn't use a lot of big minions. We'll have to see if this card is used. Priest though does like a lot of variety of effects, but unfortunately, priest is so synergy based as a control deck that it's hard to add in another situational card that doesn't line up with like the Shrink Master combos with Cabal and the Pyromancer stuff.
So this card incentivizes people to play mostly early game removal and then mid to late game creatures that then you can resurrect once they die. So the mechanic is really awesome. I really like Priest because it has the option to play that way already. It's just not very popular, it's just not very viable because a lot of people are playing aggressive decks, but if the meta slows down just enough, it might be possible to play in that scenario and it would make the card Resurrect extremely powerful. So Resurrect would basically work reasonably well because it costs 2 mana if you revive a minion that costs 2 mana, but it often doesn't work that way because a lot of minions have their value in, like, let's say their battle cry or in their position in the game. You have to keep in mind when you play a card like this, there are certain cards that don't really work too well. You know, suddenly, if you Shadow Madness your opponent's garbage, you might resurrect that garbage at a later time. So if you're playing like a Piloted Shredder, the Piloted Shredder dies, yeah, you'd certainly want to resurrect your Piloted Shredder, but let's say the Piloted Shredder pops up some, I don't know, 1/1 piece of crap. Well, you don't want to resurrect your 1/1 piece of crap. So, you know, you have to design your deck around this card for it to be good, and you have to be able to play that type of deck in the meta, and that's really the question, but I think the answer to that question is probably a green light. So I love it.
Now, what's really interesting about Resurrect is that it's given to a class that generally doesn't play a lot of trash, right? You don't play typically a lot of 1-drops like Leper Gnomes, right? You don't play all the crappy minions in general. You tend to play stuff that is very relevant. You tend to play stuff that has a mid-range body. You tend to play the cheapest minion priest play, something like a Zombie Chow and the Northshire Cleric. Would I be happy to play 2 mana for a Zombie Chow or Northshire Cleric? Probably not. Which means I think if you play Resurrect, you might be playing a heavy control deck, and I mean heavy as fuck, and I mean like the heaviest possible control deck you can build. And what you use Resurrect on is you guarantee yourself to get at least a 4-drop with Resurrect. Either you get Alkanai or you get something like Ysera. You could get yourself all sorts of legendary Sludge Belchers. You can get yourself Emperor Thaurissan as well, depending on what you play post Blackrock Mountain. The only drawback to it is that if they hex the minion or they polymorph it, the frog dies, you pay 2 mana for a frog. That doesn't seem very valuable, does it? So Resurrect, a very interesting card, I find, but we'll have to see how things pan out.
Resurrect! Wow, what is this? So, 2 mana, summon a random friendly minion that died this game. Priest card. Is this card amazing? Is this card complete garbage? We are gonna find out. I don't know yet. All in all, really hard card to evaluate because you usually want to put in some amount of lower cost cards like Zombie Chow. Maybe you get lucky, you resurrect your Sylvanas. That's disgusting. 2 mana Sylvanas, wow. So this card is either terrible or mediocre or super good.